AITH for telling my neighbor I dated her husband. It all started a year ago when I 33F moved into a new building. I'm not exactly someone who goes out of my way to get involved in the neighborly drama, but one day I saw Emily, 37F, my neighbor, struggling to move some heavy boxes into the building. I'm not the type to just stand by when I see someone in need, so I offered to help. We spent a little time chatting as we unloaded boxes, and before I knew it, we'd exchanged numbers. She seemed sweet and outgoing, and after that, we'd often run into each other in the hallway or lobby, chatting about random things. It wasn't long before we became friendly. A couple of weeks later, Emily invited me over for dinner as a thank you for helping her move in. She said her husband, Matt, 35M, would also be there, and they just wanted to do something nice for me. I was excited to finally meet him. After all, I had only heard about him through Emily's stories. The day of the dinner, I arrived a little early, so Emily and I hung out in the living room while she finished preparing the meal. As we chatted, she mentioned Matt had gone out to grab a bottle of wine. I settled into the couch, scrolling through my phone, when the door opened and in walked Matt. And that's when everything shifted. At first, I didn't immediately recognize him, but then it hit me like a ton of bricks. The face, the height, the walk, oh my God. It was Matt, the guy I had gone on 3 dates with a year ago. We met on Bumble, and at first everything had seemed great. We hit it off, laughed, shared some intimate moments, and then he ghosted me. Just vanished. No texts, no explanation. I was hurt and confused, but I figured it was just another typical story in the world of online dating. But here he was, standing right in front of me, and the look on his face, he was completely caught off guard. The kind of look someone gets when they don't know how to pretend everything's fine. I'm not one to play games, though, so I just said, "Wait, we know each other, don't we?" Matt froze for a second. He stammered, trying to pretend like he didn't recognize me, but it was so painfully obvious that he did. Emily, who had been in the kitchen up until this point, walked over and smiled, asking, "Do you two know each other?" That's when I realized I had to speak up. I wasn't going to let him lie about this, especially not to someone I considered a friend. "Yeah, we do," I said, calmly but firmly. "Matt and I went on 3 dates about a year ago." Emily blinked, clearly surprised. She looked at Matt, who was doing his best to look casual, but it was clear he was floundering. "Is that true?" she asked him, voice tinged with uncertainty. He quickly shook his head and said, No, that was a long time ago, before I met you." I wasn't buying it for a second. "That's not true, Matt," I said, looking directly at him. "We went on dates last year. It was just a few months before you and Emily got married." I turned to Emily. "I'm not here to cause drama, but I think you deserve to know the truth. He ghosted me after those dates, and now I see why." Emily was visibly stunned. She wasn't saying much, but you could see the wheels turning in her head. Finally, she looked at Matt, then back at me and asked, "How long have you two been together?" Matt nervously replied, "We've been married for 3 years." At this point, Emily turned pale. She looked at Matt, then at me again, and there was this uncomfortable silence. It felt like everything was unraveling, and Emily didn't know what to believe anymore. She was clearly processing the new information. "Wait," she said slowly. "Matt told me you two dated 4 years ago, before we were even together." I froze, completely caught off guard by that. "4 years ago?" I asked. "I wasn't even living in this city 4 years ago. We dated last year. I can show you." Emily's face hardened. "You didn't mention that when you introduced yourself to me." I knew this conversation could go one of 2 ways. I could let Matt off the hook, let him lie his way out of it, or I could prove to Emily that everything he said was a lie. I chose the latter. I pulled out my phone and opened up the screenshots from our Bumble conversation, where Matt and I had clearly set up our first date just a few months prior. I showed her the texts from after the dates where Matt apologized for going quiet and said he'd just been busy. And then, just to seal the deal, I opened his Bumble profile and showed her that it was still live, right now. He hadn't deleted it. He was clearly still active on the dating app. For a long moment, Emily didn't say anything. She just stared at the screen, her expression unreadable. My heart sank because, at that moment, I wasn't sure if I had just opened a massive can of worms or if I was helping her dodge a huge bullet. Finally, Emily took a deep breath. "I need some time to think," she said, her voice shaky. "I appreciate you telling me this, but this is a lot to process." I left feeling conflicted. I didn't want to hurt her, but I also didn't want her to stay with a man who couldn't even be honest about his past. It wasn't just the ghosting that bothered me. It was the way he had lied so effortlessly to her. The next day, I got a message from Emily, but instead of thanking me or showing any signs of gratitude, she accused me of lying about when we dated. She said that Matt had told her we were together 4 years ago before they were married, and that I was causing drama. That was when I realized how deep the manipulation ran. I didn't back down. I sent her everything I had, screenshots, texts, the Bumble profile, and yet she never responded. In fact, I haven't heard from her since. A few days later, I saw Emily in the building lobby. She didn't even look at me. The silence between us was deafening, and I could feel the tension in the air. Was I wrong for telling her? I didn't think so, but now I wasn't sure. I've lost the chance to build a real friendship with her, and I've made an enemy in her husband. But I couldn't just let her live in a relationship that seemed to be built on lies. So here I am, unsure of what to do next. I don't know if they're still together or if Emily has decided to confront him. What I do know is that I can't keep living with the guilt of not telling her the truth. But now I'm left asking myself, did I do the right thing, or have I just ruined everything?